we need to start talking to children more about what is good touch, what is bad touch, what is attraction, how are relationships formed, what is it that leads to the sense of arousal that you experience when you are in the presence of, either the opposite or the same gender, and that these are things which could happen to you. And an attraction can evolve at a certain stage in your life, and you need to talk about sexuality, about orientation. All of those are topics which now have assumed a lot of importance, because if we as parents, as family members, as adults who are around a certain child will not be speaking about it, we need to understand that children are still getting all of that information. But what will happen is that they will pick it up from sources which may not be the most reliable, which will not be the most credible, in which information may be presented in ways that could either enhance their curiosity or make them start taking or indulging in risky behaviors. And they would get more psychologically impacted because their young minds are not fine tuned or developed enough to be able to process that kind of information. But if you have a parent or an adult who is around you, who is willing to sit down and talk with you, then all of that curiosity, all of those questions are getting addressed at the right stage, at the right time, which is so crucial. And I think right now, the conversations around good touch and bad touch have certainly increased so much because we are so much more attuned to all the situations that are happening around us. Media reports on so many different incidents which have happened with young children, with older children as well, with adults as well. So parents taking that step is so important. And I think schools are also playing a very large role where they have started addressing a lot of these things within the school premises itself. And I think what is more important for a parent to keep in mind is that the conversation that you have to have is not a one-time conversation. I think that's the first important piece that we always need to keep in mind. This is going to be a conversation which you will need to have at multiple times. Those multiple times are going to be based on the age of the child. You start with the young child who's even going to a kindergarten, where you're going to be talking to the child about touch. You will talk to the child about touch in a way that the child can understand. And you will have to keep on refining that conversation till that child is going to get into even the senior grades, where you're not necessarily talking just about touch, but then you're talking about sexuality and orientation. And those conversations are going to come in. And what is going to
I'm going to interrupt you, doctor. I'm so sorry. Where do you get the tools? How does a parent know this? Because हमको तो किसी ने सिखाया नहीं. Our parents were like, "छी मत बात करो," kind of a thing, right?
Right.
So how do you get, nobody teaches these things to us in school that we will need to do this. No doctor tells us, nobody tells us. So how do we get the tools? How do we equip ourselves as parents? And like you were saying that even at kindergarten, all we need told was don't talk to strangers. That's all that we were told.
Yeah.
And where do you get the tools? Like you were saying that this is how you figure out that there is something wrong with you mentally, and you need to figure out that you're slipping into depression or you're seeing triggers. Where do you learn how to be a parent to teach these things?
And ma'am, several times, what happens that, ये गलत है, इसके बारे में बात मत करो, प्लीज़ इस बारे में बात मत करो हैं, और इसको किसी चीज़ को किसी को बताना मत, डिस्कस मत करना किसी से. तो वी शुड एनकरेज आवर चिल्ड्रन, आई बिलीव. बट व्हाट पेरेंट्स डस, आप बताना मत इसको किसी बारे में, और किसी से जिक्र मत करना. उससे क्या होता है, बच्चा एक आइसोलेशन में चला जाता है.
Is that?
It does happen that children a lot of times will start shutting down, especially when the child is told that, अच्छा अभी इसके बारे में नहीं, मतलब, और you start becoming rejecting of the child's emotional
वो तो
experiences.
इतने अच्छे अंकल हैं, उन्होंने तो नहीं किया होगा.
हाँ. So as soon as you will say something like that,
He's never going to come back, or she's never going to come back.
The child is never coming back to you. Regardless of what the new situation may be and who that person may be, they will never be able to feel that you would trust them. So while you may be doing a superlative job as a parent in general, this would become the one space that the child may feel that they cannot confide in you. And this would become the one space that would trouble them for a very, very long time to come, and would impact their relationships, their adult experiences, and their expectations that they have from adults around them in general, taking away from their sense of security, their sense of trust, their belief in their own self, because they would always feel that if my parents don't trust me, why would the outside world? So you're compromising their ability to be able to grow up into becoming healthy, adaptive adults in the future. But going back to what your original question was, that, how do you equip yourself with the right tools to be able to have those conversations? I think the first thing that parents need to do is whoever your pediatrician is, they talk to you about milestones, right? You need to start utilizing that understanding that your pediatrician is giving you about the milestones to start determining that, okay, now is the age or the stage which is coming when my child is growing up, and this is now going to be the time when I'm going to have these conversations. When you know your child is stepping outside for a very young kid, you will have to start talking to them about good touch and bad touch at a much earlier age, and you will have to talk about it in a very gentle way to say that, अच्छा, जैसे मम्मी पापा आपको हक करते हैं, जैसे मम्मी पापा आपको प्यार करते हैं, कोई और ऐसा करे तो अगर आपको अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है तो आप उसको मना कर सकते हो, और हमको आके बताओ किसने किया, क्या कर रहे थे. So you will have to keep on tweaking that conversation as per the age of the child over a period of time. You may have to make it also gender specific. You may have to say, especially when the child is going to school. So अगर कोई स्कूल में बड़ा बच्चा है जो आपको कहीं पे बुलाता है, अगर आप किसी स्कूल में आप अकेले हो, बोलते हैं कि इस कमरे में आ जाओ, यहाँ पे अकेले बैठ के बात करेंगे, यहाँ पे कोई दीदी हैं, कोई भैया हैं, वहाँ पे कोई आया दीदी हैं, आपने वहाँ पे नहीं जाना है, जहाँ पे कोई आपको अकेले बुलाएगा वहाँ नहीं जाना है. सो यू हैव टू कीप ऑन चेंजिंग दोज कॉन्वर्सेशंस ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. The second thing you need to do is be very aware of what are the conversations happening in school. When school mein there are conversations happening, you need to use that as your cue to say that, okay, I need to now go back and ask my child that what was it like for you. When a conversation has happened in the school about good touch and bad touch, understand from your child what did they understand.